Navin Sapru was a young man, still in his 30s, with a life that followed the steady rhythm of a government job in Srinagar. He was a telecom engineer. His home was in Hubba Kadal, winding lanes, old wooden houses, generations of families living side by side. On the afternoon of February 27, 1990, he did what he did every other day. He left his office and began his journey home. The air in the valley was thick with tension, but daily life had to go on. A man must go to work. A man must return to his family. The path he took was familiar. It led him towards the Kanya Kadal Bridge. Broad daylight. The streets should have been full. The chatter of shopkeepers, the calls of vendors, the hurried footsteps. But that day the path held a different destiny for Navin Sapru. He was not just another government employee walking home. He was a Kashmiri Pandit. That identity made him a target. He did not know his steps were being watched. As he approached the bridge, the mundane rhythm was shattered. Armed men emerged from the surroundings, young men from the same city, now militants. They closed in quickly, decisive and without hesitation. There was no argument, no warning, just finality. Shots rang out, sharp and deafening. Navin fell to the ground, broken by bullets, bleeding but not yet dead. This is not just one man's death. It shows how society's fabric was ripped apart. The men who had shot him did not retreat. They stood over him with weapons in hand. A local Hindu woman saw the horror and was moved by a desperate maternal instinct. She ran towards them, hands outstretched, pleading with them to stop. She begged them to show mercy. She begged them to let the young man be. She begged them to allow someone to take him to a hospital. She cried out, asking them not to kill him, appealing to any shred of humanity. Her pleas were met with cold indifference. The attackers pushed her aside, their faces set and unmoved. Her courage stood out in a scene paralyzed by fear. Other onlookers were frozen, peering from windows and doorways. The militants had a different plan, to make an example of Navin Sapru. They aimed with chilling precision, not at his head or heart for a quick end, but at his limbs, prolonging agony. Each shot was deliberate, a brutal punctuation mark. The street became a theater of cruelty with Navin at its center. The sound of gunfire echoed through the neighborhood. The attackers circled his bleeding body like a ritual. This was a public lesson in terror. The men wanted to show what would happen to collaborators or enemies. The sight of a slow, torturous death in a busy street was meant to break spirits. It was a message delivered with the roar of Kalashnikovs and spilled blood. People watched from behind curtains. Others watched from terrified distance on the street. The scene was seared into their minds. The helplessness was absolute. To intervene meant inviting the same fate. Most remained silent. Shock, fear, a dawning understanding of change. The attackers were in complete control, masters of the moment. They weren't just killing a man. They were killing safety, community, and hope. Navin's slow death was the public execution of all those things. When Navin Sapru finally succumbed to his wounds, the violence did not end. The silence after the last gunshot was broken by a sound more chilling than gunfire. The sound of celebration. The militants did not flee. They began to dance around his lifeless body. Their voices rose in songs. Their voices rose in slogans. Witnesses found this the most shocking part. Killing was one thing. Celebrating a death with such glee was another. It felt like a desecration of the body and of humanity. Navin's family arrived with police to retrieve his body. They lifted his remains and placed them into a police van. The van began its slow journey. The militants clambered into a truck and trailed the vehicle, singing and dancing. They turned a funeral into a victory parade. They accompanied the van to the cremation ground. As the family prepared the pyre, the men who had murdered him stood by. They watched as flames consumed the body. This transformed the killing into personal sadism. A message that Pandits were not seen as fellow Kashmiris. The public revelry fueled dread and convinced many there was no place left for them in the valley. The news of Navin Sapru's murder and the ghastly celebration that followed spread through Srinagar like a virus. It traveled in hushed whispers, in panicked phone calls, and through the terrified glances exchanged between neighbors. The city reacted not with a roar of outrage, but with a profound and fearful silence. For the Kashmiri Pandit community, this was the confirmation of their worst fears. The attack was not random. It was part of a pattern. Names were already circulating. Judges, government officials, intellectuals, ordinary people. Each killing was a nail in the coffin of their sense of belonging. Navin's death was a particularly brutal blow. A new hierarchy of power showed itself on the streets. The state, represented by police who could only retrieve a body after the fact, appeared weak. Militants acted with impunity, carrying out a public execution and celebrating it without fear. That visible imbalance created pervasive fear. People felt abandoned and vulnerable. For Kashmiri Pandits, the message was explicit: you are on your own. That feeling catalyzed the heart-wrenching decision thousands of families would make. The choice to leave was not made lightly. It meant abandoning homes held for generations, leaving behind orchards, businesses, and a way of life rooted in Kashmir's soil. It meant becoming refugees in their own country. The alternative was waiting for a knock, or worse, another public spectacle like Kanya Kadal. Navin's murder, passed from family to family, became grim justification for flight. Years have passed since that dreadful day in 1990. But the name of Navin Sapru has not been forgotten. His story has been preserved, passed down through generations as a painful but necessary reminder of the horrors of that period. It is recounted in books, documented in reports, invoked in speeches. For the Kashmiri Pandit community, especially for those born in exile, his name is synonymous with the brutality that forced their parents, grandparents to flee. Commemorations are held to mark the anniversary of his death, not to reopen old wounds, but to ensure the post-Exodus generation understands the depth of the crimes. The details of his murder, particularly the chilling act of the militants dancing around his body, have given the event a powerful and enduring symbolism. This detail is frequently cited in community narratives, historical accounts, as the epitome of the dehumanization that took place. It serves as a stark counter-narrative to claims that the Exodus was a voluntary migration or an orchestrated migration. The memory of this public display of cruelty is used to articulate the profound sense of betrayal and terror that gripped the community. It encapsulates the larger tragedy in a single visceral image, making ethnic cleansing tangible and personal. The case has surfaced in legal contexts, political contexts. Yassin Malik, a prominent militant leader who later turned to politics, has been linked to the crime. In one widely cited television interview with Tim Sebastian, he reportedly admitted his involvement in the killing. This admission, along with other allegations, has been part of long and complex legal battles. The revival of cases against him, including the one involving Navin Sapru, keeps the memory alive in public discourse, though it intersects with tangled, contentious politics, raising questions about justice, reconciliation, political motivations. Ultimately, remembering Navin Sapru is resistance against erasure. It refuses to let his life and the brutal nature of his death be reduced to a mere statistic. Today, as we stand on the date of December 11, 2025, the story of Navin Sapru remains a somber chapter in the history of Kashmir. Remembering him is not an act of vengeance or a call to perpetuate hatred. It is a solemn duty to the past and a necessary step toward any meaningful future. To tell his story is to honor his life, to acknowledge the profound grief of his family, to recognize the collective trauma of a community that was uprooted. We must speak of what happened on that day near the Kanya Kadal Bridge, not to incite anger, but to foster understanding of the depths to which humanity can sink when ideology eclipses compassion. The quest for truth is fraught with complexity. Decades of conflict have created layers of competing narratives, where facts are often weaponized and justice seems elusive. Investigations have been flawed, evidence has been contested, Political considerations have often overshadowed the pursuit of accountability. The legal proceedings involving figures like Yasin Malik are entangled in this web, highlighting the difficulty of delivering justice for crimes committed 35 years ago. Yet, despite these challenges, the call for truth must not be abandoned. Acknowledging the facts of Navin Sapru's murder is the bare minimum required for a society to begin to heal. For the family that lost a son and a community that lost its home, memory is all that remains. It is a sacred space where the dead are not forgotten and their stories are kept safe from the distortions of time and politics. The act of remembrance becomes a quiet protest against injustice, a way of holding a space open for a future where such atrocities are not repeated. It is a call to look at the past with clear eyes, to name the victims, to describe the crimes without glorifying violence or sanitizing the horror. The pain is real, and it belongs to real people. Their stories deserve to be told with respect and accuracy. Therefore, we must continue to speak the name of Navin Sapru. We tell his story to remember the man who was walking home from work. We tell it to bear witness to the cruelty he endured and the terror it spread. We tell it so that the questions of who gave the orders and why it happened are never allowed to fade away. In remembering this one life, we remember the many who were lost, the many who were displaced, and the shared home that was fractured. The path toward reconciliation, however long and arduous, must be paved with truth, and the truth begins with remembering. Want to get similar videos before the rest of the world gets to see it? Yes, subscribe to our channel.